Yahya-Sinwar's story is inseparable from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. His life and experiences are deeply intertwined with the turbulent history of the region. Born in 1956, he grew up in a refugee camp in Gaza. These camps were overcrowded and under-resourced, a stark contrast to the life many others knew. This experience, common to many Palestinians, had a profound impact on him. The daily struggles and the sense of community within the camp shaped his worldview. The camp was a constant reminder of displacement and the ongoing struggle with Israel. Every corner of the camp echoed stories of loss and resilience. Life in the camp was harsh, resources were scarce, and opportunities were limited. Education and healthcare were luxuries that few could afford. Yet it was also a breeding ground for resistance. The youth, including Sinwar, found a sense of purpose in their shared struggle. Sinwar witnessed firsthand the injustices faced by his people. The frequent clashes and military presence were a daily reminder of their plight. This fueled his anger and his desire for change. The passion and determination of the people around him ignited a fire within him. He became involved in activism at a young age. His early involvement in protests and demonstrations marked the beginning of his lifelong commitment to the cause. His commitment to the Palestinian cause grew stronger with each passing day. The more he saw, the more resolute he became in his mission. The conflict was not just a distant political issue for Sinwar, it was his daily reality. Every aspect of his life was touched by the ongoing struggle, shaping him into the leader he would become. The 1980s saw the rise of Hamas, a Palestinian Islamic fundamentalist organization. Hamas opposed Israel's occupation and aimed to establish an Islamic state in the region. Sinwar, with his growing reputation as a staunch opponent of Israel, found a natural home within its ranks. He quickly rose through the organization's hierarchy. His dedication and ruthlessness were evident to all. Sinwar played a key role in establishing Hamas's security apparatus. This branch was responsible for intelligence gathering and maintaining internal discipline, often through force. His activities brought him into direct conflict with Israel. He was arrested and imprisoned in 1988. However, his time in prison only strengthened his resolve. He used his time to study, reflect, and further develop his ideology. Sinwar's leadership within Hamas was marked by a pragmatic approach. He recognized the need for both military strength and political maneuvering. He believed in resisting Israeli occupation through force, but he also understood the importance of diplomacy and strategy. Under his leadership, Hamas invested heavily in its military wing, the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades. The group constructed sophisticated tunnels, developed rockets, and honed its guerrilla warfare tactics. This military build-up was meant to deter Israeli aggression and demonstrate Hamas's capabilities. At the same time, Sinwar recognized that armed struggle alone would not achieve Hamas's goals. He engaged in indirect negotiations with Israel, primarily for prisoner exchanges and ceasefires. He also sought to position Hamas as a legitimate political actor on the regional and international stage. The fragile peace that existed between Hamas and Israel was shattered on October 7, 2023. A large-scale, coordinated attack by Hamas, planned under Sinwar's leadership, targeted Israeli civilians and military installations. The attack sent shockwaves through Israel and the international community. It was a stark reminder of Hamas's capabilities and its willingness to escalate the conflict. Israel responded swiftly and fiercely, launching a large-scale military operation in Gaza. The ensuing conflict resulted in a heavy loss of life on both sides. Civilians bore the brunt of the violence, caught in the crossfire of a seemingly intractable conflict. The October 7th attack and its aftermath marked a significant turning point, pushing the prospects of peace further out of reach. Section 5, Hamas and Israel, a relationship marred by violence. The relationship between Hamas and Israel is one of deep mistrust and animosity, rooted in decades of conflict and political strife. Hamas views Israel as an occupying power, illegally occupying Palestinian land, and believes that their land and rights have been unjustly taken away. It sees armed struggle as a legitimate means to resist this occupation, often resorting to violence as a form of resistance. Israel, on the other hand, considers Hamas a terrorist organization responsible for numerous attacks and the loss of innocent lives. It holds the group responsible for numerous attacks against its citizens, including rocket attacks and suicide bombings. Israel has implemented a blockade on Gaza, citing security concerns and the need to prevent weapons smuggling. This blockade has severely restricted the movement of goods and people, leading to shortages of essential supplies and further exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in the Strip. Despite their deep-seated differences, both sides have engaged in indirect negotiations over the years, often mediated by international actors. These talks have primarily focused on prisoner exchanges and ceasefires, aiming to reduce immediate tensions and violence. However, they have failed to address the root causes of the conflict, such as territorial disputes and political recognition, leading to a perpetual cycle of violence and retaliation. The ongoing hostilities continue to affect the lives of countless civilians on both sides, perpetuating a legacy of pain and suffering. Section 6: Gaza under Sinwar, a complex legacy. Yahya-Sinwar's leadership has had a profound impact on the Gaza Strip. His focus on military preparedness has led to repeated cycles of conflict with Israel. These conflicts have resulted in widespread destruction, displacement, and loss of life. The Israeli blockade, coupled with the effects of the conflicts, has crippled Gaza's economy. The Strip suffers from high unemployment, poverty, and a lack of basic services. Sinwar's supporters argue that his unwavering stance against Israel is necessary for Palestinian liberation. However, his critics argue that his policies have come at a high cost to the people of Gaza. They question whether the cycle of violence has brought the Palestinians any closer to achieving their goals. Section 7: The world reacts, Sinwar on the global stage. Yahya-Sinwar's actions and rhetoric have drawn mixed reactions from the international community. Some countries, particularly those sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, view him as a freedom fighter resisting occupation. Others, including Israel's allies, condemn his use of violence and his refusal to recognize Israel's right to exist. They label him as a terrorist leader and hold him responsible for the suffering of the Palestinian people. This division within the international community reflects the complexities of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It underscores the challenges in finding a peaceful resolution to a conflict with such deeply entrenched narratives and grievances. Section 8: An uncertain future, Hamas and the path ahead. The future of Hamas and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict remains uncertain. The region has been a focal point of tension and conflict for decades, with no clear resolution in sight. Hamas, despite facing internal divisions and external pressure, continues to exert significant influence in Gaza. The organization has managed to maintain its grip on power through a combination of social services, military strength, and political maneuvering. It remains a key player in the conflict, though its long-term goals remain unclear. Some factions within Hamas advocate for continued resistance, while others suggest a potential shift towards political engagement. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, with its deep-rooted historical, political and religious complexities, shows no signs of abating. The historical grievances and territorial disputes have created a cycle of violence and retaliation that is difficult to break. The lack of trust between the parties, coupled with the absence of a credible peace process, makes a lasting solution seem like a distant prospect. Efforts at peace talks have repeatedly faltered, often due to mutual distrust and external influences. Whether Hamas will continue on its current path or embrace a more moderate approach remains to be seen. The organization's future direction will significantly impact the lives of Palestinians and the broader Middle East. The future of Gaza, and indeed the entire region, hinges on the choices made by leaders like Yahya-Sinwar. Their decisions will shape the political landscape and determine whether the region moves towards peace or further conflict. International involvement and humanitarian efforts also play a crucial role. The global community's response to the crisis can influence the dynamics on the ground, offering either support for peace initiatives or exacerbating existing tensions. Amidst the uncertainty, the people of Gaza continue to live their lives, hoping for a better future. Their resilience and determination are a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even in the most challenging circumstances.